North Korea attacks. As many of you have been aware, North Korea launched a massive attack a few days ago. Sort of. This is the Urban Sentinel. Let's get into it. The North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has once again rattled his saber in a ballistic missile show of strength, launching missiles and a near-air incursion of fighter jets as well. In both cases, false alarms. It's not to say that the North Korean military isn't capable, it's just saying that the prudent cause for an unprovoked attack, as it were, would release an inevitable hornet's nest upon Kim Jong-un's head. And having to weigh the risk versus reward ratio is a very calculated thing that needs to be done. Now, given the unpredictable nature of the Kim regime and the current global crisis regarding Russia, Ukraine, China, Taiwan, plus the economic spectrum of many nations still suffering from the overall global fallout of the pandemic, having a loose cannon like Kim basically doesn't necessarily reduce the tensions that are already in existence. It seems to add more to the overall anxiety, making nations and leaders as a whole a bit more antsy when it comes to their international affairs and policies that they do. Many things can go wrong under these conditions. Some mistakes will be immediately recognized and have to be dealt with right then and there. Other instances, the effects won't immediately be seen until they float up to the surface, and depending upon what they are, that may take a little while. I'll give you a couple of examples. One, the global trade market. As a whole, you could expect to buy more domestically. Not simply as a case of it's more convenient, but because external resources imports will be at a premium. So many companies, many wholesalers, many distributors aren't going to be able to purchase as much from overseas to bring in, as well as that will also affect what we grow, produce, harvest, or manufacture here that we export for processing, for assembly, whatever it is, and even when it comes back again. So you can expect what you see on the shelves weeks or months later to be more domestic orientated versus imported goods. Another aspect you can look at are travel restrictions. Similar to what we had during the COVID pandemic, where many nations put restrictions on who comes in and who goes out, but this more or less lies on the safety aspect. Like right now, you can still freely travel to almost any place in the world, but you'll find it very difficult to get a flight into Ukraine or into Russia, and the same aspect coming out from those areas for pretty much what it comes down to, safety reasons. No one wants citizens of their nation to become pawns and hostages in a conflict. And if we enter into a conflict against North Korea, that entire region is going to be, effectively speaking, a no-fly zone. So if you're planning vacations and you plan on making trips, that's fine, go ahead, but be very well aware that in a second or two, that can all change and everything shuts down. Another aspect, and I'm not going to get into what's going on in Brazil with them protesting and rioting the election results that they just had. I'm not going to touch on Iran, which right now looks to be on the verge of a second Iranian revolution. I'm going to speak specifically just about domestically here in the US, our midterm elections coming up November 8th. Whichever party gains or retains control of the House and Senate, after the midterms, it's going to have effectively one or two things you're going to hear a lot of. You're going to either hear Americans will need to endure minor inconveniences to help others over themselves, or you're going to hear America needs to take back what it's given away and repair what is broken. Either talking point along those general lines, that's what you're going to hear. It's effectively speaking the football on the line of scrimmage. Whichever team ends up retaining or gaining is going to be on the offense, and the other team is going to be on the defense, and they're just going to push those talking points back and forth across the line. Now, I'm not going to get into any deeper in the political muck, as it were, and stomp around in that. Just know, on my personal view, that politicians, they talk a lot of shit, and if you take that and put it between two slices of bread, they won't take a bite. But that's all I'll say about that. The next possible demonstration by Kim Jong-un could either be the catalyst that puts us into a hot conflict again in Korea, and will directly take away the pressure from Russia and relieve any obstacles possibly from China making any of their possible military incursions into Taiwan. The same incident would be a massive void that we end up pouring endless resources, if you want to call it that, into that region and taking away any efforts and activities that the U.S. has in interest anywhere else in the world, because we're going to be focused on that. In either scenario, attention and funding gets redirected and allocated and locked into this conflict for who knows how long it could last. We've only recently just come out of a 20-year stint in one region of the world, and now we could end up back into another long-term stint in a different part of the world. So right now, the Kim regime is flexing and posing, doing a little show, seeing who flinches, trying to get a feel for exactly how far they can continue to push that line until they've crossed it. In the event of a hot war, things won't instantaneously shut down. Yes, on a certain level, there will be a halting of goods, services, trades from within that region. But the supplies that are here, the goods and services, everything that is already here or en route at that point in time are still going to be here. They're not going to magically disappear with the snap of a finger. So it won't be a case of everything goes away. Will there be panic buying? Absolutely, because the panic buying is going to come predominantly from the people that were either the naysayers of something like that could never happen, or the people that thought to themselves, well, just in case, I think I need to get ahead of this while I still have the chance. No matter what, that's going to cause stress points in our economy as it is to worsen. Currently, most of the nation, to varying degrees, are leveling off, and some areas are starting to regain traction and build themselves back up again. But getting into a crisis in Korea is going to put us 10 steps behind where we were. And at that point, any progress that we've made will be completely wiped out. And that also will affect other nations, sending out ripples all around the world, everything affecting each other because of that global interconnection that we all have. Please like, share, subscribe to this video. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. And watch this next video that YouTube suggests you watch because it's best for you. And I'll catch you in the next one.